Okay, it's been a few days and Barley House bar has released their video where they defend themselves, and Ricky Banks has released his own video, and there have been interviews with Ricky Banks, him telling his story and Barley House telling their story and showing the actual camera evidence, all the recordings, and now we can actually look at this and look at it fairly and make a fair decision on what actually happened. So I'm going to go through this, filter it, and give my little opinions on what was happening. And shame on everybody who was hating on me on my last video before any evidence had been released. And after watching this evidence from Barley House Bar, it looked even more like Barley House Bar didn't have anything to do with this, and it was actually between the patrons and Alissa and Ricky. So at 2:16, the worker girl is bringing in the money to be counted at the office, and as you can see, the woman's bathroom is very close to the office where they count the money. And on the Google page for Barley House Bar, it says that they close at 2. In this video they said that they close at 2:30. I believe maybe it's because at 2 they start pushing everybody out, and at 2:30 everybody has to be out and they're actually officially closing. So this happens at 2:16. Now at 2:28, Face Banks is down there. He's waiting for his girlfriend, who is going to go in the toilet. Okay, now it's 2:29 and you can see the worker is walking past Ricky Banks, and obviously the worker has to report something that is suspicious, because nobody is allowed to be there after 2, as they said in this video, and rules are rules. What the management says they have to do. Nobody's allowed to be down there. Doesn't matter if you're a YouTube star, doesn't matter if you're famous, doesn't matter how much money you spend there, you're not allowed to be there. You're not allowed to be there if somebody allowed you to be there earlier. If there's a rule that you can't be there after 2 because they count their money or something like that, you have to go. And Ricky Banks had to listen to what the bouncer said and had to leave. Now here you can see that the bouncer is talking to Ricky Banks, and they're probably talking out that Ricky Banks has to leave. You can see here he's gonna do some moves that Ricky Banks claims that they're dance moves, and the Barley House Club claimed that they're taunt moves to invite him to a fight. I don't believe they're quite taunt moves. They look more like dance moves, and they probably Ricky Banks was probably trying to communicate something or show something to the bouncer. Some reasons maybe why he shouldn't leave, or maybe why he shouldn't be allowed to leave. Now you can see that Alissa actually comes out of the toilet here when she sees the bouncer and she sees Ricky Banks, and she could clearly talk out, and they probably did, that they're not allowed to be there down there right now, that Ricky has to leave. Maybe Alissa can go back in the toilet, as she does right there. That's probably what they talked out. Now Ricky is going away. Now you can see the bar manager here with a lot of money in his hands, and of course the reason why they're not allowed to be there, it's not fake. They do count their money there. You can clearly see it in this shot. Now at this moment, at 31:28, you can see the other bouncer running towards the stairs, and that is because at around 2:26 the fight broke out. 26 seconds, that is. Now you can see the fight here. You can see that Ricky Banks is actually choking the bouncer. Then it turns around, they get Ricky Banks on the ground as the other bouncers come in, and he's at a disadvantage. He gets put down, and that's a little bit of a tussle, but no hands were used. It was all complete. It was all completely fair way of getting rid of aggression. If the client is resisting, they have to get him out. They have to follow bouncers' orders. Otherwise, the bouncers, of course, will have to use force. Now at this point, Ricky was probably complaining that he lost his hat, and he claims in his statements video later that he lost his bracelet as well. But Barley House didn't mention the bracelet at all, and because of that I'm not going to mention that as well, because I don't know what happened to it, if it's real or anything like that. So you can see that he gets brought out right now very peacefully. But what you can also see are some people on the left bottom corner who look like the patrons that they had the fight with later, and they're almost the last people who leave the bar, one of the last people. And these people probably saw and heard the fight that happened between Ricky Banks and the bouncers, and it was also mentioned that they're patrons of the bar. Now here you could see Alissa coming up. That's about a minute later. She's going to pick up Ricky's hat. At no point could you see anyone touching her ass here as well. Maybe the bouncer was walking close to her. Maybe she felt a little wind when they were walking by each other, and maybe that caused her to feel that she was being touched. This is about when Ricky Banks gets brought out. He stole something. Okay, here you can see Alissa coming out with the other girls, and this is when the social media stuff starts. This is when the Snapchatting starts. Okay, so you can see that Alissa got her phone out, and Ricky Banks is soon going to start filming his Snapchat. Right there, he's filming his Snapchat that you're going to see in this video as well. He claimed in his Snapchat that somebody touched his girlfriend's ass, and he was saying, "Fuck Barley Club." Okay, so here's when the two patrons that come out and that they get in a fight with later. Okay, so here you can see the patron girl. I'm going to call her patron girl with the blue jacket. She is throwing some signs, and then she goes to the chair, throws some more signs. She picks up the chair like as if she's going to throw it to start a fight with somebody, probably with Alissa and Face Banks, because they were filming those Snapchats. Obviously they're bystanders and they could probably hear them. And if they're loyal patrons of the bar, they're one of the last people to leave the bar in the customer's way. They are probably intoxicated. I think that all sides in this case were intoxicated. Intoxication of course causes aggravation and more aggressiveness. So she's showing that she's aggressive, she can throw the chair. Now at this point Alissa is filming another Snapchat. You can clearly see the flashlight, and she's coming into the patron girl's face. The patron girl slaps her phone, but then Alissa starts throwing hands at the patron girl as well. Now the patron guy, I'm gonna call him the patron guy, tries to stop the fight. He pushes them backwards so they don't fight anymore. Now here you could see Ricky Banks throwing a bottle, which in this video they claimed was a glass, but it wasn't. Clearly it didn't shatter. Ricky Banks actually didn't hit the guy who he fought with later. He hit another guy in the head. Now here you can see Alissa trying to get back into the fight after she has been stopped. Her falling to the ground, which is probably because she was intoxicated and she was wearing high heels. She probably couldn't be stable at that moment. Okay, so the defender patron brings them out. And even in these cases, it doesn't matter that it wasn't the bouncer who stopped Alissa. It's completely normal for people to stop fights. What he was doing, the holding by the neck, it's like special. It's to keep her from going at the patron girl, and if she does, of course, she has trouble breathing. Of course, it may be also to keep her up stable because she was not stable. Okay, at this moment, 20 minutes passed that Ricky Banks said in his statements that he wants to see and wants to be shown, and this time Ricky Banks was probably waiting to meet somebody and to get back his bracelet. Okay, so there has been a gathering of people again around here, and Alissa is filming more Snapchats at that time. You can see it very well. There's a flashlight or some kind of a light source there. Now this is the snapshot she took, and you can clearly see that she has no bruises on her face, no evidence that shows that she was in a fight before. So patron girl walks out of this moment. It looks like she's holding her phone in her hand, and now it looks like she is about to go hit Alissa because Alissa is filming her, and of course she probably didn't like that she's being filmed. She was maybe a little bit aggravated, and of course intoxication also increases all these emotions. Then she resists and she goes back there, and what it looks like is either she's on the phone or smoking. Okay, so Alissa is still filming her. She's doing all her Snapchatting things. Of course, it's completely incorrect for somebody to record somebody even in public if they don't want them to be recorded. Now the patron guy shown in this video as patron 2 comes out as well, and Alissa is filming them again from another angle, even after the patron girl has told her to basically not film her, show that she will show aggression if she films her. Now at this moment, the patron girl is hitting Alissa. She hits her in the face, and of course Alissa is struck back by that. And again, the guys try to stop the girls from fighting, and Alissa is of course trying to get back in. Maybe she wants the revenge again. And at this point you can see FaZe Banks going in with a hit. He misses the first hit. But then what is completely unjustified is that he continues hitting. Of course, maybe it was the heat of the moment. He saw that some fight was going down between his girlfriend again this night and the other patron girl. He was intoxicated, all those things multiplied, and what I believe is that Ricky Banks actually got into this fight because he misunderstood the situation and he was intoxicated, so his behavior was not completely well judged by him. Now he keeps hitting him. Yes, and of course we can see that the patron guy was holding them back from fighting again. Of course everyone in the moment, it's different for them. It's a little bit more tense, and of course they cannot think about everything that they're going to do in the future. Now at this point, after Ricky hits him, the man of course defends himself, turns around, and he's not really hitting him, he's trying to resist, but Ricky Banks keeps hitting him many times, and then the patron guy pushes him into the little garden, and they fall on the ground, and that is when actually looks like what the janitor brought out the bouncers to stop the fight. In Ricky Banks' statement, he said that he didn't get any support from the bouncers and that the bouncers were laughing at them. But clearly that's not the case. The bouncers came out and stopped the fight as soon as they saw it. It looks like the bouncers were already getting ready to go home as they're dressed in a different way, and they came out probably because some extra attention was brought to them. Then the fight is stopped by the bouncers, and what it looks like is police showing up, and everything pretty much ends here. What I can say by this evidence shown is pretty much that Alissa and Ricky did a good job of taunting and intimidating the other people, the two patrons, or more specifically the patron girl, to be more aggressive. But I actually believe that the guilty one in this case is the patron girl, because she actually did the first hit and the second hit as well. Yeah, well, she basically did start both of the fights, so she's probably guilty of this. Okay, it doesn't matter if this guy and this girl work for the bar or if they told that they work for the bar. What the girl did is still hitting somebody in the face. Doesn't matter if she did work for the bar or didn't. Of course, FaZe Banks should have checked the facts before he released those Snapchats, but at the moment he was filming Snapchats. That's something that can be done in a moment. That's something that can be done quick. He was intoxicated at that time, so of course it may have been his most logical decision at that time to do that. All these reactions were probably misjudged by all these people because they were intoxicated. I don't think that FaZe Banks and Alissa's Snapchats were alright and justified at that moment. Of course they shouldn't have been doing that. Now, as we see in this video, clearly Barley House bar had nothing to do with these fights and they didn't cause them. And all the hate that's been misfired towards them from Alissa's and Ricky's social media things and all their claims has been completely unjustified, and it's been pretty much very, very wrecking towards them. It's destroyed their company's reputation, of course, and everything like that. So my point in my first video was that people shouldn't be making these hate comments and hate reviews before they have even seen the evidence, or preferably not at all. So that's going to be everything from me, and I'm out.